Who knows Justin Timberlake?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to see how seasoned you guys are. Who knows NSYNC? Okay. So I want to take you back to 1999 because I owe Justin Timberlake and NSYNC all my success. Now, I don't know them at all, but one of my best friends looked just like Justin Timberlake. And so I created a fake band, fake website called InShit in 1999, and it got really popular. I mean, literally, I even had a GeoCity URL for this sucker, and this was one of my first websites that I ever created. And so people started asking me to design websites. I started charging $500. I don't know why $500. Everybody, who started off with $500, right? Everybody does. I don't know why. But I'm just telling you this story is because everybody is an accidental agency owner. We knew how to do something cool. Someone offered us money for it. We're like, hell yeah, I'm gonna do it. And we knew nothing about business. My first client, true story, was Seifert and Dykes. They asked me, they go, design this website. I said, $500. They said, yes. They go, send me an invoice. I was like, shit, what's an invoice? Like, this was in 1999. Google wasn't around. They were slacking. Like, I had to go ask my dad. So if I could go from, in 1999, not knowing what an invoice was, $500 to a $13 million agency at 45% net margins, you guys all can kill me on all this, right? Because I'm not a smart guy. I just work really, really hard. And when I started looking back at some of the successes that we had, a lot of the failures I had, it was all because of the systems that we had. And you know, I agree with all the speakers. The first thing I always felt like we had to figure out was, where were we going? And where we had clarity. Think about, when someone asked me to do a $500 website, I was like, okay, I didn't know where we're going in the end goal. I didn't know where the boat was going. So I want all of you to picture you're on a boat, you're in New York, and you're going to London. Your whole team's on that boat. You're driving the boat for 10 hours, and you're starting to get sleepy. You're like, shit, I can't, you know? You haven't told anybody where you're going, so you have to go down into the cabin, you go sleep. Every 5 minutes, your employee comes down, wakes you up. You have to go back up, do a course correction. That is what's happening when you don't tell the team where you're actually going, right? Who feels that your employees come up to you and they ask you the stupidest questions that you think they should actually know, and they should just be like, just make the damn decision, right? It's actually our fault, okay? We haven't given them the power of where we're going, and we didn't have that clarity. So I'll take you to, let's see, this was maybe 2006. We were about 2 million in revenue, and I was completely miserable. I went to one of our board meetings, and I was going over, and we were doing budgeting, and we did budgeting by me logging into my SunTrust account, right? Who does this? Like, oh, I have some money, I can do some cool stuff. And yeah, we were like 2 million. I mean, it was just stupid. And I realized that we were 2 weeks away from not being able to make payroll. And it was just wearing on me. I remember my wife coming up to me, and she was like, well, why are you so mad at me? Why are you so angry? I was like, well, because I'm failing. We may lose this business. And she goes, good. Why don't you go take a job? And it hit me, and I was like, holy cow. I was like, well, maybe I should. And probably a lot of you have gotten to that point where you're like, screw this, I'm out of the agency. I've even talked to some of the people that are like, screw it, I'm out of it. And then you come back into it. And so at the time, NASCAR was looking for a new CMO, and I used to race cars at the time. I was like, well, I'll take a job. And before I even got into the interview process, they sent a questionnaire out. They said, what do you want to do every day? And what don't you ever want to do ever again? And those 2 questions changed everything for me, because it was allowing me to focus on what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do. So I want, like, all of you to think about, if you had a sheet of paper, do this later on tonight, one of your takeaways, and I want to give you 1,000 takeaways, so I'm going to talk really, really fast. And it's really hard for a redneck from Georgia to do, a converted redneck, I guess, from Long Island, go figure, right? But I guess in Long Island we're rednecks too. We're out in the country. But on the sheet of paper, I want you to draw a circle about this big. And that's the only thing that you guys can actually do, that you guys should be doing. And I'll tell you the 5 roles of an agency CEO in a second. Everything on the outside of the paper, I want you to write the shit you don't ever want to do ever again. Like I don't want to deal with clients anymore. I don't want to do project management. I don't want to do creative services. I don't want to do ads anymore. All that stuff. Dean Jackson talks about it's milking the cow, right? You have milk. You've gotten to this point with your milk now, so stop trying to turn your milk into cheese and market the cheese. Focus on the things that you're good at. So the 5 roles that I started really focusing on, I was able to turn around. We were able to make payroll for all 12 years that we ran the agency. And it took me about 6 months to do this. So the first one is set the vision and communicate the vision often. So it gives your team the power to make decisions. And I'll give you an example of this. So this was maybe 2 years ago. We were working on before I knew AgencyCon existed, you'll be on the list, the top conferences agency owners need to go to. And so my team listed out, I think like 15 or 12 different conferences. 2 of them I was like, hell no, take those people off. I don't like them. And my team was able to call me out on it. They were like, Jason, our mission is to deliver a resource we wish we had and provide that to the agency owners. And I said, you're exactly right, keep it on. And they were able to call me on my bullshit. And so set the vision and communicate it often. The second one is you need to coach and mentor your team and your leadership team only. So we had over 100 people. So obviously I couldn't coach everybody. I never wanted over 5 direct reports because I needed to understand what did they want? What did they want in the future? What did they want to become? Did they want to form an agency? No problem, I'll help you out, right? I don't have any competition. My only competition is cat videos and procrastination, right? So I was like, and I love my cat videos. I'm always on Instagram. Cats of Instagram, yes, I love it. They're so funny. But, so I'm like trying to coach them up. And I want them to be better because one of our core values is our people are our number 1 asset. And all of you should have your core values. And you should live by them. It's not just an exercise going, I worked with a consultant, I got my core values, right? You have to live by them and really understand where you're actually wanting to go. The third one is understand your financials. You don't have to be a whiz at Excel spreadsheets. I hate spreadsheets. I hate accounting. Actually, that was only A I got in college because I sat by an Asian kid. So, right? I mean, it was a true story. Like, that was the only A. And the only thing I learned, and this is not because of Florida State, even though, yes, Florida State, I love it, I learned how to outsource. So when I got to my first job at Arthur Andersen, I was supposed to be a computer programmer. They fired me. I was horrible. So I had no options but to create an agency and design a website. I got very lucky. But then the fourth is you have to be the front face of the agency. You have to. If you're not getting out speaking, if you're not creating content, if you're not meeting with your clients, you're missing out. Someone has to be the front face. If you're going to put this in an employee, I'm thinking of an example of Lead Pages, right? So they had Tim Page run their podcast, which became really successful. Well, when they got rid of Tim Page, what happened to their podcast? I don't know. It was a really amazing podcast. So I truly believe the agency owner needs to be there. So after you get the clarity, right? You have to go into positioning. You have to figure out how to position yourself. Now, why does everybody's website look the same? Why does everybody look like a Me Too agency? It's because we always talk about our awards. I used to do this. I can make fun of all of you guys. I used to do that all the time. Our first award was from a site called AtlantaGeorgiaOnline.com. We owned AtlantaGeorgiaOnline.com. First website. We were like, best web design in Atlanta. Great. And then it just started other awards. And then we thought people would work with us because we got a lot of awards. It's bullshit. Look, who wants to be Robin and Batman? Who wants to be Robin? Okay. Who wants to be Batman? Okay. Who wants to be Alfred? Okay. I'm going to tell you, if you're Batman, by telling yourself, these are all the awards I've won, this is how great I am, what do you think you're making your clients? Robin. No one wants to wear those ugly green tights. No one raised their hand with Robin. But you're making your clients Robin. It's the same thing as if I came up to you in the conference, I was like, hey, I'm Jason, I sold the big agency, I am the biggest deal since sliced bread. You'd be like, right? Like, get this jerk away from me. Versus if I was like, hey, how can I help you out? Like, why did you actually come to this conference? I start off by asking questions. When you ask questions, it's going to put the attention on them, and that is what you're supposed to do. That is how you're supposed to position yourself. So when you go back and look at your websites that talk about, we are awesome, we're the #1 award-winning agency in the world, and Gray, I'm like, oh God, I can't stand Gray. I wish they would just fucking die, right? I just hate them, they're horrible. I mean, good people, I'm sure, but whatever. I don't know. It's probably recorded too. Thank you, Greg. Who cares? Whatever. Maybe they go viral. But they always talk about themselves. You need to be Alfred. You need to be that trusted advisor. So like when you look at all of your options, we were at a Mexican restaurant today at lunch, and I looked at it, I'm like, I'm so overwhelmed by all the options. I was like, shit, that's where agencies got the idea to list out all their services on the website. Like, I don't know. And then you put in your packages and you're like platinum, gold, silver. I'm like, holy cow, you're supposed to be Alfred. You're supposed to tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. Should I work with you? What options should I have? I'm just so confused. And that's how your audience feels. And I used to do the same thing. So you need to ask the right questions in order to help prospect out to get to where they're actually going. And then you need to say, based on what you told me, this is what you need to do. Not, based on what you told me, I have 3 options. I don't know what's good for you. You pick. And it's like, come on. Like, take some time, ask the right questions. 3, the offering. The offering's very important. How many people think they're too busy to do their own marketing? How many people think they're too busy? Y'all are freaking lying. All of you all think you all are lying, and you're supporting terrorists if you don't. Okay, you're supporting terrorists. So I'm going to call people in, and they're going to take you away. So if you say you're too busy, you're not charging enough, okay? And the only way to raise your prices is understand the value you're actually delivering. So when I go and I start working with agencies, I'm like, what's the value that you deliver? Half the time, you know what the answer is half the time? I don't know. I'm getting to more traffic, but they don't ask the right questions in order to figure out, have them come up with the value that you're actually delivering. When they actually say the value, you got them. You're never going to lose a deal based on price. You're going to lose a deal based on urgency. So if I'm about to have a heart attack and the doctor says, you know, I could save your life, am I going to say, like, how much is it? No, I'm going to be like, save it. Like, defibrillate me or whatever it is, right? I got a speech impediment. So I'm going to like, save me. I'll figure it out later. It's the same thing with your clients. But you have to think about what is the right offering at the right time. How many people sell retainers right off the bat? Okay. Are you guys married? No? Married? You're married? Yeah. Did you? Yeah. Well, he's cute. Come on. So with your wife, when you met her, how many years ago?
25.
Did you propose to her on the first day? No. Okay. So that proves my point. When you're going after with retainers, right? You're saying, marry me right off the bat. It's a huge commitment. So I started, one of my first clients after when I got kind of pulled back in this industry. So when I sold my agency, I was completely depressed. I went to go do an iPhone app. I thought the grass was greener on the other side. Grass is greener on the side you fucking water. And I was like, this sucks. Like, iPhone apps suck. And so I was just lucky enough I got pulled back. And so one of the first clients I started helping, and I actually helped them for free, and they should actually give me ownership for this. But they were an SEO agency. And they were saying, Jason, I hold on to my clients for about 6 months, and we're on a month-to-month deal. They charge $5,000 a month. That's another thing, $5,000 a month for SEO. That's like the common $500 one, it seems like. But I said, okay, well, why are they leaving? And they go, well, I don't know. I'm like, okay, all right, that's not a good answer. And I said, well, let's change things up. Why are you charging $5,000? He goes, I don't know. I looked at the competition. I was like, another bad answer. And so I was like, what if we offered something to them to build trust in the very beginning? What if we did a strategy session where we could actually do like an audit, where we actually look at what they're doing, what's working, and then we make a recommendation. We're going to charge $2,500 for this. And he's like, well, I'm not going to charge for a proposal. Like, I can't do that. I'm like, no, it's not a proposal. They can literally walk away with this strategy and go execute it themselves. He said, okay. So I was like, I want you to tell them there's 3 outcomes. 1, they'll love the plan, they'll go execute it on themselves. 2, you'll love the plan, you'll want them to execute it for them. 3, you'll hate the plan and you'll give them the money back. So you're going to see if they're really into, like, if they're a good prospect. Once they did the strategy session, at the very end, and they built it with them. They didn't just go off and go, let me go do this SEM rush thing and come back. They built it with them, so they had buy-in. They say, hey, do you like the plan? Of course they like the plan. They actually did it with them. So then they would transition to a project. I told them, I said, how long will it take your clients to see results from your SEO? He said, about 2-3 months. I'm like, oh, you're pretty good, okay. So let's do a 3-month project, at $5,000 for each month. So we're going to do $15,000 project. He's like, okay. So while you're in the project, when your client starts seeing results, I want you then to position the retainer. And you're going to position the retainer at a 12-month deal, and it's going to be for $8,750. He did that. So if you add up the $2,500, the $15,000, and the $8,750 over the year, so it's basically 15 months, he went from $30,000 per client to $112,000. Just by changing that offering, just by making an easier decision. Look, you have to, when you come at them with a retainer right off the bat, it's a huge commitment. People are going to have remorse, and they're going to be scared that they're going to make the wrong decision. Look, when you win a deal, that's great for you. You go celebrate, high five, but they're just starting the journey. That's the same thing whenever anybody buys anything from me, I always send them a custom private video. It's like, hey, Victoria, thanks for jumping in. You made the right decision, just to let them know, because they have buyer's remorse. It's the same thing I want for you guys to think about. The other thing I want you to think about is you want to make sure you're talking to the right prospects. All right? How many people have talked to Darth Vader wanting the Death Star? He wanted it yesterday, and he had no idea for a budget. Right? How many people have talked to that person? Right? How long did you talk to Darth Vader for? A couple weeks? Sometimes a couple months? I have. And totally wasted. But hey, it was a huge opportunity. It was a huge client that I could have gone to. Like I recently just went through this, and I almost fell into my own trap. And I was able to kind of get out of it. So this big company comes to me, and they were like, we want to do the same thing of what HubSpot did with their inbound certification with ours for video. I said, okay, great. So I started going through this, and remember this, NBAT, need, budget, authority, timing. Need, budget, authority, timing. So whenever I'm talking to a prospect, I'm going through this. What is their need? Does it match up with what I can do? A lot of the speakers talked about do not go off course. If someone asks you to mow their yard and you've never mowed a yard, don't do it. It's going to backfire on you and it's going to blow up. Okay? So make sure it's neat. Real easy. Budget. How many people ask for the budget? Well, always 50% of the room. How many people actually get the budget? Always about 25%, right? It's always that way. Why is that? I'm going to give you the number one way to get the budget 99% of the time. There's 2 ways to do it. First way has to fit your personality. I'm kind of goofy and out there, so it might not work for you. But the second way will always work. So I'm like, cool, what's your budget? What do you say? $25,000. No, you don't say the budget. You say, I don't have a budget. Oh, okay. Say, I don't have a budget. So I feel better. Okay, let me hear it. Okay, I don't have a budget. I love working with people that don't have a budget because I love testing out tons of stuff and I don't have to worry about money. And they're like, They look at me like that. And I'm like, cool, I'm just joking with you. You do have a budget, and I just need to know some kind of range of what you're trying to stay around. And then I start high. You got to start with the high number. Whatever number they hear first, they're always going to remember. So I'm like, cool, you trying to say, wait, are you trying to stay around? Sorry, this is the latest keynote I've ever done in my life. So I'm usually in bed. This is East Coast time. Right? So are you trying to stay around $1 million, 800,000, 700,000, 600,000? What is your range? And you'll always get the budget. For that 1% of the chance that you don't get the budget, they don't know what the fuck they want, right? And then you can transition to a strategy session to actually help them out. If you know that company has that, has revenue. True story. I went into, well, they're all true stories. I'm not telling you false stories. So, well, maybe no, they're all. I'm just kidding. They're all true. So I got a call one time, and I went into. This is all about pricing. So knowing your clients too. I'll tell you how you come up with your pricing. A client called me up, rocked it on the phone call, right? And you're just like, yes, I'm gonna get this deal. And they invite me to the office. I go in this office. This office was like this long conference room about this far. And then I'm like, and I'm 23 or 24 at the time. And all these people in suits come in. I'm like, holy cow, I am toast. I am done. I don't know what I'm doing. And so I go through the presentation. They go, well, Jason, what is it gonna take for a website? And I said, $20,000. Because they had like 20 people, so I did like 1,000 for every person. And so I was like, 20,000. And they all started laughing. I was like, was that too much? And they were like, well, we'll let you know. So I go back to the office, and I'm talking to my team, and they're like, who'd you meet with? I'm like, this company called Berkshire Hathaway. I was like, damn it. So like, do your research. So there's two ways to come up with your pricing after you know your value. So if you know the value and your clients have come up with the value, base your pricing on that. The other way is understand their expectations. Sometimes people's expectations are up here. Sometimes people's expectations are down here. So if you pitch a $20,000 website because there's 20 people in the room, and their expectation was for $1 million, they're going to devalue it. It's kind of like me selling you a $100 Ferrari. You're going to be like, what's wrong with it? Is it stolen? Is it a Matchbox car? What is it, right? Something's wrong with it. So you have to get all these things in order. And then you can go into the prospecting. So I went through kind of the clarity, the positioning, the offering. This is the foundation all of you need before you even think about picking up the phone and calling prospects. And you have to know the niche, right? I should have went back, before the positioning. I got 5 minutes. I got to talk fast. So you have to know the niche of who you're going after so you can talk their language. So then you can figure out, all right, where are my clients? So if you're fishing after whales, are you going to go in a creek? No. Are you going to, Pete is going to come after me now because I'm fishing for whales. Sharks, no, they'll probably still come after me. Big fish that you throw back after you catch. You have to make sure you have the right bait, okay, and you're fishing in the right space. One of the best strategies I've seen for agency owners is podcasting. One of the speakers were talking about podcasting for creating great content. Yes, a lot of my clients that do podcasting, they don't give a shit if someone listens to it, because they can call their perfect audience up and they go, hey, would you like to come on my podcast? And they'll be like, yes, I would love to. And then you start this great relationship with them. You're not pitching them, but you're forming a relationship with them. And one of my clients, I can't take credit for this part. He came up with this part. After someone agrees to come on the podcast, he'll send them a form saying, I just want to make sure you're right for the podcast. So I'll ask him, marketing budget, what's the biggest challenge? all the questions you want to know, right? And then he brings them in the office, which is even better, and he'll have the Ali fight on in the background, replaying. And he doesn't say anything about it. And people are always like, what's the deal? He's like, oh, it's the rope-a-dope. It's kind of like strategy before, the stuff like what we believe in. I probably butchered that. Sorry. But, he closes 50% of the people that come on his podcast. So when you're looking in prospecting too, and to wrap up, you want 3 pillars. You want an inbound channel, you want an outbound channel, and strategic partnership channel. We became a big agency or a medium-sized agency because of these three. If one pillar went down, we still had the other two. The strategic partnership, we became the best in the world for Sitefinity. It was a content management system back in the day. We did the same thing with SharePoint around Dynamics and SharePoint. And so then they started feeding us clients like LegalZoom and Hitachi and AT&T. So that was our strategic partnership channel. But we still had an outbound channel. And all of you should be picking up the damn phone or LinkedIn and being resourceful about reaching out to people. Not hiring outsourced companies to go do it. Not hiring India to go do it. Not just spamming the endless people about, go work with me and let me do this. But targeted research. Targeted research about how can you actually help them. Offer to help them for free. And then you can position your foot in the door, and then your project, and then your retainer. Don't call it a retainer either. Like, I hate that name. It just sounds like sorry, lawyers, but you already gave me the 5 minutes, so you can't kick me off now. No, I'm just kidding. But just think about that. So does anybody have any questions? I went over a lot. I was trying to go quick, so.
Number 2, budget.
Budget? Yeah, so need, budget, authority, and timing.
What's your number 2 way? The crazy way.
Oh, the crazy way, but then do the reverse auctioneer. Okay? So then you start with 100,000, 80,000, 60,000, 70,000. I didn't tell you about the A. A is for authority, okay? The easiest way to figure out if someone's the authority is saying, cool, how does this align with your overall business objectives? If you're talking to someone that doesn't know, they'd be like, oh, I don't know. Oh, who knows? Bob knows. Who's Bob? He's like, the CEO. I'm like, can we get CEO on the phone? Right? Easy way. The other one is timing. You have to make sure it aligns. So the company I was talking to, I'm dyslexic, so I'm all over the place, or I see shit backwards. So the company that called me, I started breaking my rules. I knew their needs somewhat. They wanted to be an expert in the video space. I was like, okay. But I was like, what's the budget? I don't know. Who's the authority? CEO. Why are you not on the call? Why are you on the call? And then their timing, they wanted to start in November. And I almost took it on because it was a huge opportunity. Literally, it was like a $200,000 project. And I was telling Carl, I was like, I'll send it to my worst competition. I was like, I'm not right for you. So, so cool. There's another question.
What does outbound look for you? You mentioned phone calls and LinkedIn. I think those are.
Yeah, one of the strategies that worked for us when we were running our agency, so we were doing a lot of UX and we're building a lot of programs as well. And we would outsource the pay-per-click and the SEO. And so we would call people that were spending over $10,000 a month in AdWords. And we'd say, hey, we know you're spending over $10,000 a month in AdWords. There's a lot of mistakes and a lot of big opportunities that I see that you can go do. And we want to make sure you're not missing them. And so we would charge a $2,500 audit. And this was on a cold call. But we did targeted research. And then that obviously led to hey, there's an opportunity for you to do this. We weren't just saying you suck and you do this, right? That's negative. We were saying, hey, there's opportunity here. And then we would understand their business, and then we were like, and we get all the rest. So, great question. Cool. Any other ones? I think I got a minute left. I don't know.
Jason, I just want to ask you, with all the agencies that you've worked with, what do you think is the biggest mistake that they make? If there was one thing that somebody was to take away.
There's two. I always like to over-deliver.
Okay.
Not picking a niche and not charging enough.
What?
Not charging enough.
What was the first one?
Not picking a niche. And I don't care if your niche is technology, or technology is horizontal, right? Or industry. If you can do both, you're going to crush. You're going to eliminate your competition because you're so specialized. There's a reason why specialty doctors get paid a gazillion dollars versus the generalists, right? So you want to be looked at that. If I said this is easy. Think of a computer company. Everybody say it now. Apple. There you go. You want to be the Apple of your industry. You want it, when people think of your agency, you need to do it. And then you need to charge enough for it. Everybody oh, I don't have enough time to do anything. Well, you're not charging enough. Or I don't have enough time to hire people. Well, it's because you haven't built the pipeline. You haven't had the foundation. It all starts with those systems in order and go up. And then all the other things, there's 1,000 other things that you can do, but it starts with that. And you just have to, and when you're picking out a niche, make sure you have passion behind it. Make sure you have knowledge. Don't take a course of how to pick a niche or like the most important niches, right? We all know who that person is. Like, this is the most profitable niche out there, right? Like, here, check out my Ferraris and Lamborghinis. And that shit doesn't work. You have to pick it out yourself. And just remember this, there's no silver bullet. There's only silver out there that you have to mesh up together and make your own silver bullet. And then you'll be able to accomplish whatever you want. Because look, things are going to suck. They're never going to be amazing all the time, whatever business you have. And all the systems I just told you, there's 4 other ones. If you want to know there are other ones, come see me. And this is a scan code. This is a messenger bot. If you want to talk to Don bot, a Don Draper bot, scan this, go to Facebook Messenger and do that. But you got to love what you do. If you don't love it, and enjoy the journey. When I sold, I was completely depressed. And the things I remember were the clients, like, I had a client come to me literally like 4 years ago. I sold the agency 6 years ago. This client I started working with in 2004 finally came to me and was like, I have everything for the website to start. Right? So like, those are the stuff I remember. I don't remember I remember some of the successes, but I remember more of the failures because it was just fun and it was cool. And so enjoy the journey. The destination is not what it's always looked up to. The journey is the coolest part. So cool. All right. Thanks.